Level 1. The house that taught you limits. You didn't grow up thinking you were poor. Nobody ever sat you down and said it out loud. There was no moment where someone explained your situation. It was quieter than that. It was in the small things. The way lights were turned off one room at a time, like electricity itself was something fragile. The way your mother said, "We'll see," instead of "no." And how you learned very quickly that "we'll see" meant not today, not this week, maybe not ever. It was in the look on your parents' faces when you asked for something they couldn't give you. That look stayed with you longer than the thing you wanted. So you adapted. You stopped asking. You became low maintenance. You convinced yourself that wanting less was the same as needing less. And slowly, without realizing it, you built your understanding of money from silence, from tension, from watching the way your family lived inside invisible limits nobody ever explained, but everyone obeyed. Level 2, the moment. Everything changed. Then one day, something didn't feel right anymore. You couldn't explain it at first, just a quiet thought that didn't belong to the life you were living. Maybe you saw someone online, someone your age living differently. Not surviving, but choosing. And for the first time, a dangerous idea entered your mind. Maybe the rules you grew up with weren't universal. Maybe the ceiling wasn't real. That thought changed everything, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing the difference between people who expect more and people who settle. And you realize nobody ever told you that you were allowed to expect more. So you start learning quietly. Late nights, headphones in, watching, reading, thinking. Building a version of your life that doesn't exist yet, and the gap between that version and your reality starts to grow. Level 3. The distance begins. Nothing changes on the outside, but inside everything is different. You begin to feel distance, not physical distance, something deeper. You're in the same room with the same people, but your mind is somewhere else. You start thinking about money differently. Opportunities start to look obvious. Risk starts to feel necessary. And slowly, conversations stop making sense to you. You don't say anything. You just listen and realize you don't belong in the same way anymore. Every new thought pulls you a little further away from the version of you that accepted limits without question. And even though no one notices it yet, you know something inside you has already changed permanently. Level 4. The work nobody understands. That's when you start. Not perfectly, not confidently, just enough. A small idea, a side hustle, something that feels both possible and impossible at the same time. At first it's exciting, but excitement doesn't last. Reality shows up. You work and nothing happens. You try and it fails. You try again and it fails again. And the hardest part isn't failing. It's not being able to explain why you're trying in the first place. You can't explain to your family why you're spending hours on something that isn't making money, and you can't explain to your friends why you're slowly disappearing from everything they're doing, so you carry it alone. Day after day, failure after failure, and slowly doubt starts creeping in, quietly. At night, when everything is still. Maybe they were right. Maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should go back. But you don't, because you've already seen too much to believe the old version of reality again. Level 5. The first break. Then one day something works. Not in a big way, not dramatically. Just a number on a screen that shouldn't be there. But it is. And you stare at it longer than you should, because this isn't hope anymore, this is proof. Something you did actually worked. And for the first time, you feel relief. Not excitement, not celebration, just relief. Because now you know it's real. You want to tell someone, but you don't, because you don't know how to explain what that number means. So you keep it to yourself, quietly, and you keep going, because now you're not guessing anymore, you're building something real. Level 6. You made it. But nothing feels the same. Time passes, more work, more risk, more sacrifice, and eventually you make it. Not overnight, not easily, but undeniably. You have money now. Real money. The kind that changes your life. The kind your family never had. And that's when you realize something nobody warned you about. You made it, but your family didn't. They're still living the same way, thinking the same way, worrying about the same things. And now you're standing between two worlds at the same time. You go home and everything looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same because you've changed. Not better, not worse, just different, and that difference feels heavier than you expected. Level 7. The weight of being. The only one you try to help. Of course you do. You pay for things. You fix problems, you make life easier where you can, but something doesn't change. Because money solves problems, but it doesn't change mindset. And you start to see it clearly. The habits, the fear, the same invisible ceiling you grew up with still exists for them. And you can't break it for them, you can only break it for yourself. And that's when it hits you. You didn't just escape poverty, you escaped a way of thinking, and there's no way to fully explain that to the people who are still inside it. So you sit in this strange space where you have more than everyone around you, but you don't feel ahead, you feel alone, because there's no one to share this with. No one who understands the path you took, and you can't go back because once you see more, you can't unsee it. Level 8. The truth and ending. Being the first isn't about money, it never was. It's about becoming someone your past doesn't fully recognize. It's about change that doesn't reverse, and that change comes with a cost, not financial, but emotional. But here's the part that makes it worth it. You didn't do this just for yourself. You did this so the next person doesn't have to start where you started, so they don't learn about money through stress, through silence, through limitation. You change the starting line forever. They'll never know what it took. They'll never see the ceiling you broke. They'll just see open space and think it was always there, and that's the point. Because being the first isn't about being seen, it's about making sure the next one doesn't have to struggle the way you did. You became rich, but your family didn't, and somewhere along the way you realized that was never the goal. The real goal was to make sure someone else could.